Hey, hey, Blue Table fans. It's time for you to hear my sweet and honeyed voice. This is low definition. I'm doing this with my Snagit program. You're looking at some Tomb Kings by bloodybeast.com. I just looked these up on Cool Mini or Not and thought they looked good. We're going to be talking about Tomb Kings in Age of Sigmar. And so, first off, I start reading the Tomb Kings file, the whatever it is, the PDF, right? The free PDFs. And, it's been so long that we've all been doing it the exact same way, which is an army book comes out. Let's see if I can find something beautiful for you to look at instead of this. This is by, well, you can just look these up on Cool Mini. These are by Kasera Nogu. Anyway, okay, so what happens? The army book comes out, everybody looks it over, you determine that some units are good and some units are not good, and then of course in the meta game, you end up, when all the army books are out, people ask me, well, which ones are competitive, which ones are top tier, and then some books are considered low tier, and they just get kind of relegated to the dustbin. And they've got some people that really love Bretonians or Beastmen or whatever it is. But, pretty much you got to play it for fun and not competitiveness. And as I was looking at the Tomb Kings list, I was looking at it the same way. I'm like, all right, well, what are the units that are good and which ones go on the scrap heap? And then I realized, oh my gosh, none of them go on the scrap heap. I'm good to go because through whatever sort of organic methods are going to come forward in the coming whatever it is. It's, by the way, I'm giving some really great advertising to Rothened Studios. So good job, guys. Maybe I should advertise our own stuff. How about that? So anyway, yeah, I realized, you know what? I could just take stuff that suited me. Like I could just I didn't have to have core units. I didn't have to paint up a bunch of skeleton warriors because the skeleton warriors for the Tomb Kings line are really old. In fact, they haven't been redone since I was painting in my room. Back when I was painting freelance. One of my first projects was actually a Tomb Kings army, and yeah, I remember those well. So the Warriors are really outdated. They're kind of this old crusty unit. $35, man. Well, at least 16 come in the box, right? But now I'm just like, awesome. I can just. Uh-oh, what am I doing? Hold on. Gotta search for Tomb Kings again. Okay. So now I can just get what I want, and play the army I want to play. That's gonna be fun. So I'm just going to run through Tomb Kings with you, and this sort of, how to look at it. Oh, there it is. Here's a Necrotect. Yeah, by the way, this guy's really important, and if you're going to play Tomb Kings, you're actually going to want maybe 3 or 4 of these, but you'll need to, like, I don't know, convert a model or, do something a little bit different. So, that's weird. Oh, no, there it is. Okay, so anyway, what is this here? That's kind of weird. It looks like a headless guy, a Lich priest. Oh no, his head is just really low. This is awesome. This model stood the test of time, in my opinion. Is Queen Khalida. Look at that. That's awesome. That'd be a great general to lead your army. What a great figure. Very dynamic. So anyway, all right. I just wanted to find. Oh, what was it that I was looking for? It was the Tomb Guard. There it is, Tomb Guard. This is what I'm going to use for my basic troops. A couple of units of these guys. Maybe get like 40 of them. Those guys are awesome. Look at that. That's a great figs, man. I love it. I'm actually already working on getting a trade, because, the budget's tight, so I just got to do things however I can. Okay, so let's take a look. First off, you got Cetra the Imperishable. Obviously, he's a very powerful character. And he did say war. Okay, so his command ability is Pretty cool. And by the way, to activate it, yeah, this is one of the ones where you actually do something. And I don't mind these. I think they actually sound funny. You're supposed to hold out your hand and utter "war" in a supremely commanding tone. You can add 1 to all hit rolls for death units in your army that are within 18 inches. If a death rattle unit, and by the way, that's the key word for all this Tomb King stuff, you get to add 1 to their to wound rolls as well. And so there you go. But you lose the game if you kneel down during the game for whatever reason. Okay, not going to spend much time on these other gals. High Queen Khalida is not as good. But see, that's just it. It doesn't really matter. They're all good. Include them if they're interesting to you. You know, there's no points. There's no resource you have to spend on this necessarily. You just put it out and, you know. Okay, so let's talk about the Tomb King. So you have a choice. You can use a Dynastic Blade, or you can use Monarch's Great Blade. So I want to talk to you about it, and this is coming up for anybody that's playing Age of Sigmar. It's called, I'm calling it damage output, which means since damage is always one-sided, it doesn't depend, there's no weapon skill of your opponent, there's no toughness of your opponent, so they're just going to put out an average number of wounds every turn. So damage output is something that you're going to need to look at. So with the Dynastic Blade, that's like a regular sword. So you get a sword and shield, basically. You get 4 attacks with a 3+ to hit. So that's a 67% chance of hitting. So 2.3 of the attacks are going to hit on average. And then to wound is a 3+. So that's like, I think it is 1.75 are going to wound. In fact, let me just get out my calculator. I can show you guys how to do this. Here we go. Okay, so you take the 4 attacks times the percentage chance of them hitting, 0.67, that's a 3+. 2.68, all right, I miscalculated that, sorry. Okay, times another 0.67, that's 3+. That's the chance you're going to roll a 3+. Okay, is just about 1.8. Okay, now you multiply that by the damage, it's D3, so that's actually 2 is the average there, times 2. Now it has a rend. I value the rend as a 17% increase, times 1.17 equals. So the damage output of the blade, the Dynastic Blade, is 4.2. And I got the 17% because that's a 1 in 6 chance. So that's basically, there's a 1 in 6 chance that it will wound when it wouldn't otherwise wound because of the rend, because of the 1 in 6 that it changes the armor save by. There's other factors, of course. Okay, so 4.2. Now let's calculate the Monarch's Great Blade. You only get 3 attacks with that one, times 0.67. Whoops, I did that wrong. Times 0.67 times, also wounding on a 3+, 0.67 equals 1.34, but the damage is 3, so times that by 3. So that's 4.04, but it's minus 2 rend. So that, in my estimation, that's a 34% increase. So let's times that by 1.34 equals. So that's a damage output of 5.4. So just about 1 wound more is going to happen with the Monarch's Great Blade. Even though it has less attacks, the damage for those attacks is going to be higher. So, but reroll failed save rolls with the Royal Tomb Shield is pretty awesome. Okay. Tomb King is also a force multiplier if he's your general. My will be done. Now, the thing is, though, you can only have 1 general. So while you could have several Tomb Kings in your army, only one of them could use his command ability. So I'm reading it. Tomb King Royal Chariot, that's kind of, you know, the chariot thing. Prince Apophis is kind of cool. He's got, he basically has Deep Strike. Deep Strike doesn't deviate, though. And in fact, there's no rules name for this ability. It's just, It just says to place him to one side. And then during any of your movement phase, you can set him up on the battlefield more than 9 inches from enemy models. This is his move for that movement phase. Now, I really like this because Deep Strike, it's always been like this variable thing where maybe you'll go off the board, or, it always kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. But I like this way because it's very exact. It's more than 9 inches and by the way, you can charge the turn these models show up. You can use no wait, you can't use hero abilities, my bad, because it's in the movement phase, which is after the hero phase. But they can shoot and charge the turn that they arrive. So that's pretty cool. But they're more than 9 inches, which means you need a 10 for your charge. So it's really not that much. So, okay. So Apophis is kind of cool. And he flies, too. Okay, Tomb Herald. All right, now we're getting somewhere. So when you're looking at these PDFs and you're making your Age of Sigmar army, the first thing you want to consider is what looks good and what's going to be fun, and how do you like it? Because the competitiveness really comes out in a different way. It's how you use your army, your tactics. It's not so much list building, because, you can just put anything out on the table. Well, there's arguments back and forth for it, but one way or another, you're going to figure this out ahead of time. And now it just comes down to, well, what would you like to bring? What looks good? So let's go back to the Games Workshop site. And let's look at what our Tomb Herald looks like. So let's see, where is he? Here we go, Tomb Heralds. So you get 2 models in the kit. Yikes, 40 bucks. But they're pretty cool. Quite frankly, what I would do is I would just get a Tomb Guard model and just model on a piece from another kit, like these Necropolis Knights, because they have a pretty cool banner in there, and or your Sphinxes. So those are going to have a lot of really cool parts to them. Oh, there's Apophis, this guy made out of like scarabs and stuff like that. Isn't that cool? Ugh! Freaky. Freaky, freaky. Okay, so let's do... So Tomb Herald, Standard of the Undying Legion. So the Battle Standard Bears are awesome in Age of Sigmar. You got to take them. You might want to take a couple. No reason you can. I might actually take 2 of these guys. Tomb Herald can plant his standard and cause fallen warriors to return to the fight once more. If he does so, you may not move the Tomb Herald until your next hero phase. Big deal. But you can immediately return 1 slain model to each Death Rattle unit from your army within 24 inches. Guys, that is a lot of summoning. And if you look here, his Ancient Blade is the same, well, it's not the same damage output as the Tomb King. Never mind. It's not D3 wounds. Yeah, and he's a bodyguard too. So a lot of synergy with this guy. And that's what you want to look for. You want to look for synergy, force multipliers, and of course, what role the unit is going to take. Okay, so now the Lich Priest is a death mage, and that's important later on, so pay attention. He can use his scrolls to automatically unbind an enemy spell once a game. And he can only cast 1 spell. That's okay for like a basic wizard. He knows Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and Righteous Smiting, but also about 15 other spells that appear directly in the other war scrolls. And quite frankly, he's got a little bit of bite in close combat too. Righteous Smiting, you can pick a skeleton or reanimate unit within 18 inches. I don't know what reanimate is yet. We'll find out. They can, each time you roll a hit of 6 or more, they can immediately make an extra attack. That is not really a great power, because let's say you have a unit of 12 warriors making 12 attacks. That means only 2 of those are going to turn into these extra attacks, and they still have to hit. So it's not really a game breaker. These Lich Priests are more better for their summoning and healing abilities, as you shall see. Okay, Casket of Souls. So first off, this thing's really cool. I've always loved the Casket of Souls. I love the model for it. However, I've been thinking, in Age of Sigmar, all these armies supposedly get like a facelift. And I was like, okay, how would the Tomb Kings like look if they were like Age of Sigmarized, you know? And so for my casket, I'm going to have this floating like 3-inch square platform with guards on it. I'm going to pull those from the Tomb Guard models. And I'm going to use Necron pieces to make this kind of like floating shrine. And here's why. Because the casket can move. Where are you? Oh no, this is it. Let's see. Yeah, it's got a move of 2 inches. So not much, but it does move. So Covenant of Power, if a Lich Priest from your army is within 18 inches of this model, you can add 1 to their casting rolls. Now that's awesome. So there's some synergy there. The casket with the Lich Priest. Casket cannot make charge moves, but you can add 1 to all save rolls for the model in the shooting phase. Well, that's okay. I think it's got a save of 4 up. That's pretty heavy for Age of Sigmar. Most things don't have better than a 4 or 5. Keeper can unbind. Here's Unleash Souls. Okay, here's where it gets kind of really weird. In your hero phase, the Keeper of the Casket can unleash the tortured souls of the damned. If he does so, pick a visible enemy unit within 20 inches and roll a dice. On a 3 or more, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. D6 if it has bravery 4 or less. Okay, so on a 3 up, they take D3 wounds. Then roll a dice for each other enemy unit within 6 inches of the first unit. On a 5 or more, they get the same treatment. So I gotta tell you, the casket, oh man, that could affect so many units. If you had 2 of these unleashing every turn, that could be really cool. But the other thing is, a lot of times you're going to have these, like a lot of these army lists have like these sort of like little guys that go around and buff the units, like skink priests. And this, boy, they better keep their distance, because this casket, a couple casket hits could just kill those guys. So the casket basically can just, you know, really start thinning out the herd pretty quick. I think the damage output, because the average damage output for like a whole unit of guys attacking is typically 4 to 8 wounds. And then you get to make saves on top of that. So the actual damage output is only like 3 to 6 wounds. But the caskets, they don't even need to roll to hit. You're just gonna take. Well, I guess you got to roll a 3 plus. Anyway, so caskets, cool. Definitely love those. The published model for them is really neat. Let's go take a look at that. Usually, I'd like to put it like on a base. This thing's begging for it to be put on a base. You have to like embellish it a little bit. Look at these guards. Those guys are cool. Yeah, Casket of Souls. 56 bones. Wow. It's amazing. There you go. So, but definitely a really cool fig. It stood the test of time. It's over 10 years old that this thing has been out, you know. By the way, I'm publishing video right now. Not publishing, but editing video. That's what it looks like. It takes a long time. It takes hours to do these battle reports. And so here we go. Where were we? We were back to the, oh, nope. Let's go back to the PDF. Here you go. Okay. Skeleton Warriors. Skeleton Warriors are kind of your basic guy. They hit on a 4-up and wound on a 4-up, so that's not bad. It's kind of your standard warrior, 1 attack. So the damage output for one of these guys is basically 0.25, 1/4 of a point. So a unit of 12 will put out 3 wounds. And but if there's a death hero within 18 inches, you can add 1 to their to hit rolls. They can make an extra attack. They have 20 or more models, so now they're starting to get more powerful. You can also, their crypt shield goes from 6+ to 5+, so still not very good. against weapons that are not rending. You can also create a shield fortress and add 1 to save rolls. So their save could potentially get as high as 4 up, so that's not bad. You can raise skeletons. So here's where all your death wizards know these spells. They know tons of spells that appear in the war scrolls of other units. So casting value of 5, you can set up to 10 skeleton warriors within 18 inches. If the casting roll is 10 or more, you can set up 20. So that's not bad. Now, here's where it gets interesting. If they have an icon, you can return D6 slain models to this unit in your hero phase. That is really good, guys. That is really good. And then with a horn blower, their minimum charge is 6 inches, so not bad. Skeleton archers, blah, 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 blah. Let's get to some good stuff here. Skeleton horsemen. I actually didn't even read these because the models are so terrible. They can charge even if they ran. That's not bad. These guys could be some good harassers there. Wait, did skeleton horse archers appear? Skeleton horsemen. Okay, skeleton horse archers, skeleton chariots. There we go, Tomb Guard. Now, these guys are typical elites. They've got 2 attacks instead of just 1. They hit on 3s and wound on 4s with a -1 range, so not too bad. The damage output here is more like here. In fact, let's do the calculation. Where's my calculator? Okay, here we go. Okay, 2 times 0.67. Okay, so 1.34 are going to hit. Now we got to halve that for wounding. And then we do the rend, giving them a 17% advantage. Is about 0.8 damage per guy. And this is triple, just because of those little shaving things that are better, like 1 point better here, 1 point better here, 1 point better here. Their damage output is triple your regular foot soldier for skeleton warriors. Their icon bearer brings back D3 guys. But you can't go above the original amount yet because they're returned from being slain. They can do the tomb shield too. So if they don't run, they can move and do it. They just can't run or charge. And then they get +1 to their save. I can't read the save underneath the edge of my program here. But, see, death, I have a hard copy of it. Let's see, let's check my hard copy. Okay, Wood Elves, no. Yeah, I've read about 6 of the things so far. About 4 of them, like with some, yeah, they got a save of 5, so not bad. Not the best, but not bad. And you can get more Tomb Guard, 5 or 10 of them. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, here's the Necrotech. So when you're doing Tomb Kings, you're going to want 2 to 4 of these guys, because there's a ton of stuff that gets bonus from the Necrotechs. They are awesome. So pretty normal in close combat. But Stern Taskmaster, in your hero phase, you can pick a Death Rattle unit within 8 inches. That unit can move an extra 3 inches in its next movement phase. That's pretty good. Furthermore, you can reroll wound rolls of 1 for that unit in the combat phase until you're next to your hero phase. So you have a 1 in 6 chance of converting a hit. Not bad, but I'll take it. Okay, but you'll see that Necrotechs appear in other things here. So these guys are not wizards. They're hero, priest, Necrotech. Death Mummy. Okay, Necropolis Knights. Now these models are really, really, really super cool. Let's go back. Hold on. Where are they? Necropolis Knights. I love these figures. I am getting them. There will be like 6 of these in my army. Awesome. I say yes. Let's see if I can get a bigger picture of these guys. Yeah, oh, they're great. Just fantastic. Oh, wow. I say yes. Here's your icon bear. Oh, wow. So neat. Let's go back to Cool Mini. There's my Tomb Guard. No. There she blows. Just by that guy. So cool. So, oh, man. Just flipping incredible. Wow. I say yes. I want them. Okay, let's go back to the PDF. Okay, Necropolis Knights. Now, here you go. So Death Wizards, that's your Lich Priest, they know Reanimate Necropolis Knight. Reanimate Necropolis Knight has a casting value of 5, so you got to get a 5 or higher on 2d6, very easy. And if you're getting a +1 to your casting, then you can hardly fail. Now, this is great. If you're successful, pick a unit of Necropolis Knights within 18 inches. That's a very generous range. You can add 1 model to that unit. That's awesome. You just keep putting them back. Keep putting them back. So yeah, tons of Lich Priests. That's what you want. Okay, let's keep going. Tomb Scorpions. Oh, here we go. Okay, so these guys, they get 3 attacks, but look at the damage on these guys. 3 and D3. They've got the same damage output as like a Tomb King, basically. I mean, it's great. So their special abilities. If they suffer a wound or mortal wound by a spell, they can ignore it on a 5-up. Or a 4-up if there's a Necrotect within 18 inches. So the Necrotect buffs the Scoom Torbians, is what I almost said. Death Wizards can also reanimate the Tomb Scorpions. And you just add 1 model to the unit. That's awesome. I got to find a good alternate model for Tomb Scorpions, though. Okay, Ushabti. Now, this is great. They have this rule you're going to see a couple times in here called War Statuary. So they have a save of 3+ instead of 5+ against attacks that have a damage characteristic of 1. So they kind of are better against massed troops. Likeness of the Ancient Gods. You can reroll save rolls of 1 if there's a Necrotect within 18 inches. So the Necrotects are just buffing everything. I'm gonna say boffing everything. Well, maybe they do that too. And you can use your Death Wizards to reanimate them as well. So that's good. Their damage output is pretty good. Ritual Blade Stave, it's 3 attacks, 3/3, Rin -1, D3 damage. That's the same as the Tomb King's thing. So they have about, each one of these guys has about the damage output of a unit of 8 to 10 guys. So quite frankly, 3 Ushabti are going to be putting the herd out. Putting the herd out pretty bad. And they get their fists too. 3 attacks with those. Yeah, so not bad. A great bow. So let's see. 1-armed. Oh, the bows. The guys with the bows have stone fists. So you don't get the blade stave and the stone fist, turns out. Okay, and you can add a model if you reanimate them. Now, oh, here it comes. The War Sphinx. Okay, I say yes to these guys. I'm going to have 4 of them just because they're cool. Sphinxes of different kinds. So what I'm including in my army is, and I think I already have some of these on hand, is we're going to, here we go. Okay, Kimrian War Sphinx. Let's take a look. So this kit makes 3 things. First off, it makes this. So this is the entry that we will see momentarily. Okay, I can do this. All right, so it's got like a Tomb King on it. And that's pretty awesome. You can also magnetize this guy too. And there's 2 tail options, as you'll see. Here's one with crew. There's like 3 or 4 crew on it. Oh, and look at this banner. So this banner plus a Tomb Guard is pretty awesome. So, yeah, and that's what that Tomb King looks like on foot. Okay, so this kit also makes something else, as we shall see. Let's go to Cool Mini and see if we can find like an alternate one that's been done up. Here we go. Let's just take a look. Tomb King diorama. No, this just looks like the regular. Oh, you see the tail there, like the scorpion tail? That because he can have two different kinds of tails. And I've done the calculation, and I'm pretty sure the damage output is just the same on both. So it's really a cosmetic thing, you know. But I wish they would have made it different, but they didn't. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Fiery Roar is a ranged attack that can wound, when he's at full strength, it wounds on 2+ and does d6 damage, but it's only one attack, 8 inches, so it's okay, but nothing really to write home before. But oh my gosh, the close combat attacks you get. 6 with stone claws and teeth, 3 with bladed tail, 1 with venom spike tail. So the venom spike tail only gets 1 attack, but it hits easier, it's got a Ren and multiple wounds. So, I don't know, I would just take either of them. And then the Tomb Guards, they go down as they suffer wounds, so they have 8 at full strength all the way down to 4 when it's dying. So that's a great way in this game system to represent that the crew is dying off. So there's not too much record keeping involved with it. It's pretty cool. Okay, now we get to the interesting stuff. Thunder Crush attack. So this is weird. After this model completes a charge move, this is impact hits. Pick one enemy unit that is within 1 inch of it and roll a dice. Now, I might point out, this doesn't have to be the unit that it's charging. It just says, after it's completed its charge, pick an enemy unit that is within 1 inch of it and roll a dice. Unless you can't come within 3 inches of units as you're charging. I wonder. I'll have to look at the rules on that. And roll a dice. If the dice roll is less than or equal to the number of models in the chosen unit, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Okay, so think about that. If there's only 1 model in the chosen unit, you need to roll a 1 or less. There's almost no chance of getting it. But if you charge something with 6 models or more, you don't even need to roll. They just take the wounds. So that's pretty cool. Now, in way out there land, because technically you just put whatever you want in your army. There's no comp. You know, there's no force org, which I love, by the way. You could have, 8 of these war sphinxes, have them all charge a unit, and basically just vaporize it. But, of course, that's kind of a one-trick pony. Okay, Sacred War Statue. I love this. This is huge. Guys, this is why you want the War Sphinx. Have any wounds or mortal wounds inflicted on a Kemrian War Sphinx, rounding fractions up. That's awesome. That is an absolutely enormous defense. I mean, guys, that's crazy. Hold on, I'm looking at my hard copy so I can, yeah, they got a save of 4 up. Okay, now, the Death Wizards can heal them of D3 wounds, so that's kind of cool. Let's keep going. Okay, here's where my commander is going to be, a Royal War Sphinx. That's with the Tomb King on top. So, Glaive of Kings is awesome. 3 attacks, basically like the War Glaive that we looked at earlier. Same attacks and everything. Okay, so it has Thunder Crush, but it also gets Tomb King's Curse. If a Royal War Sphinx is slain, the unit that inflicted the final wound upon it immediately suffers D3 mortal wounds. Awesome, nice bonus there. Definitely increases sort of the killiness of this unit. All right, here it goes. Here's the command ability. Who dares disturb my slumber? If a Tomb King atop a Royal War Sphinx uses this ability, pick one unit in the enemy army that is visible to the Tomb King. Okay, there's no range on that. And he's way up on the Howdah. Until your next hero phase, you can add 1 to all wound rolls for mummy and death rattle units in your army that target the chosen unit. Boom! Awesome force multiplier. Awesome buff. Fantastic. Okay, Necro Sphinx. Okay, I want you guys to see what this model looks like. Here. Let's go back. Cambrian. So, by the way, this kit makes all of these. So you're going to end up with a lot of extra pieces in this that I'm going to use for these weird conversions and stuff. Now, by the way, whenever I do an army, nowadays I do it by trading and, you know, figuring out different deals and getting people to do it. But they are for sale. So all the armies, I'm even selling my Eldar right now, which is great. Offhand, I'd say it's probably, you know, it's probably $1,200 worth of figs, something like that. I don't know. But it's a lot. I'm selling it, well, I won't say a price, but it's, there you go. So this guy is like really super freaking cool. Now, if you buy this kit, there's a company that puts out legs, so you can make like your bone giant out of those, or your Hyro Titan, or whatever it is. So look at these wings. Awesome. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have so many extras of those wings. It's good. It's really good. So yeah, this guy's pretty cool. So and we're about to see how cool he is. Here it comes. Okay, Necro Sphinx. Here it comes. Let's see. Scything Blades is 4 attacks, 3+ to hit, 2, 3, or 4 to wound, depending on how bad he's damaged. Rend of -3. And by the way, you want Rend because there's a couple armies that can rank it up to 1-up saves. And when you get up to a 1-up, you're invulnerable. A 1 does not fail. You better bring some Rend or you will not be able to deal with that. And it does 3 damage. So awesome. Okay, so here's his abilities. Need to destroy. Hold on, I got to take a sip of water. If a Necro Sphinx is within 12 inches of the enemy in the charge phase, it must attempt to charge even if it ran in the preceding movement phase. Oh my gosh. That's amazing, because it can fly. And what's its move? Let's see. Whoa, that was too much. Come on, just be good. Why are you doing this? Oh, because I'm going down, not up. Move is 12 inches, but then it gets shorter as it suffers damage. That's pretty cool, by the way, because if your 12 wound guy is down to 2 wounds, you're limping along at 4 inches a turn. It's great. It's really neat how they've done that. So 12 plus a d6 run, and then when you make a charge, you roll 3 dice and discard the lowest. Use the 2 highest. So that's a charge of about 8 or 9. So this guy's threat range is 12 plus 3 or 4, so let's call that 15, and then plus the charge is awesome. Oh no, wait, hold on, I'm sorry. You can't move and charge. I'm pretty sure that's right. You just roll the 2d6. No, you can't. You can move and charge. You just don't add your movement to the charge roll like in 9th edition. So yeah, this guy's threat range is pretty huge. Have the wounds, again, for Sacred War statue. Okay, here's Decapitating Strike. If a Necro Sphinx directs all of its attacks with its scything blades at the same monster, and 2 or more of the wound rolls have a result of 6 or more. Okay, by the way, what are the chances of that happening? Think about this. You got 4 attacks. You're hitting on 3 ups. So let's just be generous and call that 3 hits. So if you roll 3 dice and 2 or more of them are 6s, guy, what is that? That's about just a 1 in 6 chance. So it's not going to happen too often. But you get 10 mortal wounds. That's awesome. On top of the regular thing. So basically, yeah, you'd probably just kill something outright. There's a chance. Okay, so a little bit like Killing Blow, Heroic Killing Blow, or whatever. And your Death Wizards can heal them D3 wounds like normal. Okay, Sepulchral Stalkers. That's those snake guys. So they also deep strike, underground stalkers rule, but they can burrow back, which is pretty cool. They can burrow back in the underground of any of your future movement phase. It can return in a later turn, as described above. And transmogrifying gaze. Roll a dice. On a 1, they suffer a mortal unit. On a 2 or 3, the target unit keeps its eyes shut and nothing happens. On a 5 or more, the target unit suffers a mortal wound as it momentarily meets the stalker gaze. But on a 6, it suffers D3 mortal wounds as it foolishly stares into the stalker's eyes and crumbles to sand. Well, that doesn't seem too good on the surface of it, but you got to remember there's 3 of them doing this, so that's not too bad. But you're really only going to get maybe 1 to 4 wounds from that. So, but it's a nice bonus. The damage output in melee isn't that great. I mean, it's good. It's good. Yeah, that's it. Sepulchral Stalker. So they're definitely a harasser unit because they can charge. So what you want to look for is things that make your charge range higher, and I haven't seen any of that in here. Bone Giant. This guy's awesome. By the way, is there a Hyro Titan in here? Screaming Skull Catapult. I didn't see a Hyro Titan. Tomb Swarm. Yep, that's it. Okay, that's weird. So the Hyro Titan is gone, and there was no model ever published for that. So I will probably use, I can't remember the company that puts this out. Here it is. There's a company that puts out these legs, and in the War Sphinx kit, you have this top part. So I'll probably just use these as my Bone Giant. This guy's pretty cool. Yeah, that's all. Great conversion too. Okay, let's go back. Boom. Okay, here it is. So their damage output is pretty good, kind of like your typical monster. They have heavy footfalls, awesome. Those almost do as much damage as their regular attack. Okay, unstoppable assault. Each time you roll a 6 or more to hit, can make an extra attack. That's not that great. They're going to have 7 total attacks. So you're really only getting 1 bonus attack, but it's nice. It's a little icing on there. Colossus of War. After a Bone Giant is attacked in the combat phase for the first time, roll a dice. Add 1 to the result if there's a Necrotect in your army within 18 inches. On a 5 or more, or 4 or more, the Bone Giant can immediately pile in and attack for a second time that turn. That's pretty awesome. The only question is it the first combat phase ever, or is it per time that he enters a new combat? I don't know. Rules as written is like just once a game for that, but still a nice bonus. Okay, now here's some great synergy. Screaming Skull Catapult. By the way, I've already gone 45 minutes on this, so I'm just going to stop here pretty soon. 36-inch range. The damage isn't awesome on this. It only gets 1 attack hitting on a 4-up. That is pathetic. I'm just sorry. I don't care who you are. That's just not that good. 4 damage. Who cares? The damage output is not great. It is indirect fire, which is nice. But here's how it is. Screaming Ammunition. A unit that is attacked, just attacked, doesn't say hit, doesn't say wounded, just attacked, by any Screaming Skulls must subtract 2 from its bravery until the end of the next battle shock phase. That is great. It's not cumulative because it does say any, and it does get to fire twice if there's a Necrotect within 1 inch. And it does have movement. By the way, if it's got 3 models, it can move 4 inches and still shoot. So not bad, all the way down to 2 inches if it only has 1 model. So I'm going to actually make a conversion for this. I don't know, where it's like walking on legs, like a big scorpion or something. That'd be cool. Okay, and then of course the Death Wizard, if there's no crew on the catapult, the Death Wizard can just bring back all 3 crew. It's pretty cool. Carry on. This is the last. I'm going to skip Tomb Swarms. But these guys are actually pretty cool. They hover above the battlefield, and they can just charge down and charge in. So these guys are good for as harassers, kill like little war machines and stuff. So not bad, but I definitely want to make conversions for them because the published models aren't that great. The Tomb Legion is pretty cool, actually. Um, they get kind of like a reanimation protocols thing, where on a 6, they just come back. So that's pretty cool, and I do believe that is army wide to the Legion. Okay, guys, that is Tomb Kings, and yep, that is Tomb Kings, and they're really cool. They got great models, but of course, somewhere along the line, their codex wasn't any good. They were bottom tier, and so you just didn't see them being played. But the models are incredibly cool. As long as you don't bring in the skeleton warriors or the skeleton horsemen, every model in this range is absolutely exquisite. They're pretty easy to paint, and obviously anything goes in Age of Sigmar. So, folks, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys tomorrow.